All right, how's it going, everybody? I am super excited to have on Brent Edwards. He's a guy that, in my line of work as a lender, we're always trying to connect with really good real estate agents. And Brent was a guy that I think I prospected 4 or 5 years ago. He became a part of our book club and just a guy that I have a lot of respect for. And he's got a really cool story to share. He does over 25 transactions a year. He runs his own brokerage, but he didn't get to that overnight. And this target audience is for anyone that's thinking about getting into real estate, or maybe you're thinking about just quitting your job and you just kind of want to get that extra motivation. I think Brent's a really good guy. So Brent, super excited to have you on. We both got the black shirt memo, so we're all in there. Brent's a super cool dude. Brent, just if you could just talk about yourself and what we can look forward to today, please.
Yeah, man. Michael, thanks for having me on. You kind of broke up. You said talk about myself and what else?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say if you can just share just kind of a little bit about you, what got you started, just share about you.
Yeah, so I graduated from San Diego State in 2008 with a degree in economics. I thought I wanted to be in investment banking, so I worked for a third-party hedge fund marketer for a while, and I realized that looking at spreadsheets all day was no fun. So I was basically in the job market in 2009, and it was, the unemployment was the middle of the meltdown, the economic meltdown, and unemployment was at an all-time high. And I was out there as a 22-year-old person trying to compete for entry-level jobs with people who had 20 or 30 years experience. So it was really challenging finding a job. And I needed to pay rent. So I kept hearing this word on TV, foreclosure. And I was like, I don't even know what a foreclosure was, but those people must be busy. So I reached out to a foreclosure company and I said, "Are you hiring?" And the guy said, "Yeah, I could use you for some manual labor around my house." So I started. This guy owned a foreclosure company, but he didn't start me at the company. I actually started cleaning out his garage and moving dirt in his backyard and just anything that I could do for 10 or 12 bucks an hour to try to make my rent at the time. And when I was done at his house, he was like, "All right, we're going to do the same thing in the office." And it was like cleaning old files and shredding paper and just grunt work. And one day I got into the office early and nobody was there and the phone was ringing. And so I just started answering it. I just stared answering the phone because I was bored. And I don't know, somebody was impressed that I took the initiative and learned about real estate processing foreclosures from 2009 to about 2012. And during that time, I got my real estate license just to learn more about the real estate game. And so, yeah, that's kind of how it all started without droning on and on. That's kind of how I got my start, was stumbling onto foreclosures. I just really liked the real estate world, and that's where
what a time to get in the business, right? I mean, I'm sure you had your family and friends being like, "Brent, you're an idiot. Why are you getting into something that's crashing? That's not a good asset, not a good investment?" How are you kind of dealing with that internal battle? And I'm sure there was that external factor of hey, I'm trying to have a family. I mean, I got to live in San Diego. It's not the cheapest place to live. I mean, what was that like for you when you were getting some outside sources kind of telling you to go and do a different career?
Well, they weren't. They were actually "You're brilliant," because foreclosures were at an all-time high. So I wasn't on the brokerage side at that point. I wasn't helping buyers and sellers. I was helping banks repossess houses. That was our role. Gotcha. We were the foreclosure trustees. So there wasn't that "Oh, you're getting into real estate in such a bad time." It's you're getting into foreclosures while foreclosures were at an all-time high. And so I didn't really have that pushback. That pushback kind of came when I switched to the brokerage side as foreclosures started to slow down, and I started to transition away from that role. And I had gotten the license while I was at the company just to learn more about real estate while I was doing the foreclosures. So I kind of stumbled upon that license by accident, and I sat on it for a year and a half. And as I transitioned out of doing foreclosures, I thought, cool, what an easy transition to just go from doing the foreclosures. We were working with bankruptcy trustees and investors buying at auctions and flipping houses and buyers and sellers. Because when you're the foreclosure trustee, when you're trying to sell a house during foreclosure, everything has to go through the foreclosure trustee. So I got to interact with all the major players, and I thought, what a seamless and easy transition going to the brokerage side, because I have all these contacts, I have all this industry knowledge, and I have the license. So cool, I'm just going to make a really easy transition from doing the foreclosures to doing the brokerage side. And I was wrong. It wasn't that easy, but we did do the transition, but it wasn't easy.
Yeah. So So you went into the brokerage side. Were you working under like a team lead? Kind of take me through like your first time buying and selling residential real estate.
Yeah, so I started out at a small boutique firm downtown. This gal was doing a ton of short sales. You know, short sales were like was pretty much a huge part of the market back then. And I was like, cool, I'll align with myself with someone. I aligned myself with the foreclosures when that was busy, and I was like, I'll align myself with this person that's doing the broker that's doing a bunch of short sales. Didn't it she was knowledgeable and a good broker, but she wasn't I didn't feel like I got like the training, and being a brand new agent, I didn't think I realized how much training I needed, and like just how different and how hard this transition was going to be. So I started at a boutique firm, yes. And then I went to actually another boutique firm. And so, yeah, I worked under a couple different brokers at the beginning, and then I got out to doing my own thing pretty quickly thereafter, within, a year and a half, 2 years.
Well, I mean, gosh, making a shift, right? So you get a lot of newer agents that are like, well, I want to work under a team lead because I can get leads, right? I can have, and you need that, right? When you're starting out, you need to get your feet wet. You need to like, you can go through the test, but all the stuff that you learn is actually within the transaction, really understanding how to communicate to people. I guess what would you recommend, people for that? Like, if you were looking back when you became a new real estate agent, maybe what would you have done differently? What would you suggest, like looking out for, if it is a career choice for someone, where would you recommend starting and then maybe kind of leading up to?
So for me, the biggest thing for me was getting a coach, because it was interesting. The brokers that I worked under, I didn't really need to work under them. I was already, this was back in the day where you could get your broker's license right out of the gate. And so I've never had a salesperson license. I got my broker's license right out of the gate because the rules back then and the way, I had a degree in economics, and because of that, I was able to, so I could have just started out on my own.
Gotcha. That's right. And the college degree. Yeah.
The brokers didn't help me get leads. They didn't give me leads. They didn't help me generate leads. They basically were interested in my money, is how I felt what it came down to. There wasn't a lot of value going in the other direction. So it's like I would close a deal and they would get a cut of it. And there wasn't much value coming in the other way. And so I got a coach right out of, like, pretty much right out of the gate. And in fact, I in the first 9 months after I transitioned out of doing foreclosures and doing this full time, in the first 9 months, I made $1,500, and I was living on borrowed money. I had debt up to my eyeballs, credit card debt, and borrowing from friends and family to try to make rent and put gas in my tank while I'm trying to figure out this business. And it's really hard. I think people could probably do it faster. I think it took me longer. I'm not saying it should take everyone 9 months. You could probably start doing deals in that 3 to 6 month range realistically. But for me, it took me a while to get going. And it's hard. And so I had a coach who showed me how to run this business like a business. I think there's a lot of people who get into this industry and sort of run it like a hobby, or think it's just about opening a door, putting a sign in the ground. And there really is a method to the madness of running it as a business if you want to be successful and be consistent. And for me, I had the coach, I was doing the work, but I didn't see the fruits of that work for a while, because you plant these seeds and the results of the seeds you're planting can be 30, 60, 90 days out or more. Like you said, you started prospecting me 4 or 5 years ago, right? I mean, I have clients that I'm doing deals with that, I met them 3 years ago. So it takes a long time. It's a long incubation period. And I signed up for a year of coaching, and I got about 6 months in, and I came home from work one day, and my girlfriend at the time, she was like, "How was work?" And I started crying. I was like, "No one's ever going to hire me. And I got debt up to my eyeballs, and this is a terrible idea. I'm a complete failure." And I told her I was going to quit. And she's like, "Well, you already signed up for the year of coaching. You're 6 months into it." She's like, "Just see it out for 6 more months. And if you still hate it, then quit at the end of 6 months, but don't quit while you already paid for it." And I thought, okay, cool, 6 month vacation. I'm just going to kick my feet up and let this clock run itself out. And in the next 3 months, I closed 4 deals and I made like $20,000, and I was rich. I was like, "Oh, I'm rich. I got 20 grand. I'm going to be fine." And then in the next full year, the next full year, I closed 15 transactions and made almost 100 grand. And I was 27 years old, and the most money.
What year was that, Brent?
That was 2013.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
great.
I think I closed like 14 or 15 deals and made almost 100 grand. And then it was just, it's just been gangbusters since then. But so to go back to your question of any agent that's watching this, that's thinking, how do I, what do I need to do? Especially a new agent, get a coach or align yourself with a team lead or a mentor or a broker who's going to coach you. Get coaching, and the coaching has to be, everybody will say, I've been recruited by a lot of different brokerages wanting me to come over. And I've listened to the pitches in the past. And the problem is, and I've heard from other new agents, is they promise you the world as far as like coaching and training. But you need to learn how to generate leads. You need to learn sales scripting to convert the leads, because that's the lifeblood of the business. I don't care how much you know about real estate. I knew a lot about real estate coming into the brokerage from doing the foreclosures. I knew a lot of real estate facts and knowledge, but I didn't know how to generate leads. I didn't know how to convert leads, and I didn't know how to run it like a business so that every day I'm consistent in my systems and in my lead generation and in my conversion. And the coach taught me how to do all that. So get yourself a coach or find a broker or mentor who's going to coach you on how to generate leads, how to do proper scripting, how to convert the leads, and how to run this like a business. Yeah, that would be my recommendation.
Bro, that is gold. I mean, that is gold. You're already a pretty driven guy, but when the times were getting rough, what were you kind of relying back on? Was it something that happened in your past? Is it just inbred in you? Because times have always not been easy in the real estate market, especially kind of like right now, to be quite frank. I guess what was kind of the driving force? Was it family for you? If you don't mind just touching on that.
Yeah, thanks for asking that question. My sheer disdain for authority. Every job, everywhere I went growing up, every class I had, every parent, every teacher, every coach, every boss, everybody, I always thought you're doing this wrong. I could be doing it better. Why aren't we doing it like this? Like, I've just always had this attitude, and I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not tooting my horn. But the reality is I don't do well with authority, because I consider I'm a bit of a visionary person, and I think I can see how I want things to go in my life. So a level of freedom and a level of being able to operate the business how I think it should be operated, and not having someone tell me where to go. You got to clock in, you got to wear this shirt and talk like this and say these things and do it like this, because I think a lot of people really miss the mark across a lot of different industries. You walk into a job and the boss tells you have to do it like this, and it's like, but the clients would be better served if we did it like this. Yeah, but that's not how we do it here. I couldn't be in a job like that. And I find all the jobs I had was some version of that. I was like, I think this could be done better. And so that's really where my motivation comes from. My why is just my my desire for freedom, and to have my own kind of autonomy to do my professional work the way I want to do it.
That's so awesome. Thanks for sharing that. The first time I met with Brent, he shared, and dude, I'm like, he gets calls from lenders all the time, right? So it was really nice. He took the time to even meet with me. And, he just comes across as one of those guys that really just wants to inspire and just kind of give back, right? He definitely has that mentor coach mentality. And I remember the first time I met with him, I don't even think we talked about real estate or talked about loans. It was really on just like, dude, like, this is how I got started. Here's a little bit more about myself. And like, that's the relational side, right? Like, you can't really teach just like caring about people and like explaining what's on your heart. And I think that's what differentiates a lot of good agents is like, dude, like, I'm going to give you the time of day, man. Like, I'm a real person. Like, I want to hear about what your goals are, what your needs are. And Brent has that. Where are you at in your career right now? So you've obviously done a ton of business. I mean, have you thought about just kind of more being that team lead and recruiting agents? Do you still like the sales and producing and the game? Like, where are you at right now in your career? You've been doing this over 10 years. So, I mean, where are you at right now?
So actually I've just sort of turned a corner this past year. As you know, I've had some personal stuff go on in the last couple of years, which have sort of made me focus on some other things. So I've just kind of turned a corner in this year where, it started expanding the team. I got 2 full-time guys that work for me. We've got another agent that just came on board this week.
Congrats. That's great.
So yeah, thanks, man. So we're expanding and growing the team, and I'm starting to focus on that piece of it, of growing the team. But in the last few years, I haven't, because I've been, had some stuff going on in my personal life. And in the last couple of years, I've found myself spending a lot more time with my kids. And, people have been asking me, every year, at the end of every year, I do goal setting. We do business planning, we do goal setting. And for the first handful of years of my career, the first 5 or 6 years, it was more transactions, more GCI, more transactions, more GCI, growing the team, all that. And then I had, some stuff going on personally, and it became trying to focus on my kids and making sure that everything in my personal life was squared away. And so my goals the last couple of years has been working less. And last year, I think that I averaged 23 hours a week or 25 hours a week working. And that was by design. And the thing is like, I have a brilliant team around me. The guys that work with me are just like incredible, and they do their jobs really well, but they do things way better than I ever thought, like way better than I could. So it's about having people that you trust and that can do their job well. And I've been able to kind of take a step back and focus on some things that I need to focus that aren't production, that's actually personal. And so for the past 2 years, it's been a matter of working less. And I've made more money in the last 2 years working half the amount of hours. So I'm no longer doing this. I used to do I know a lot of agents can relate to doing the 50, 60, 70 hours a week, every weekend, every open house, buyer calls, you're rushing out the door. Like that used to be my thing. I used to be, obsessed with the production. And then I had to become obsessed with other things that were more important, mostly around my kids. And so my goals, I guess what I'm trying to say is goals for me and for anybody that's listening, your goal might be production. Your goal might be doing 50, 60, 100 deals, growing a team and being, the next Kyle Whistle, the next Dan Beer. There's a lot of icons in our business that do a lot of business. That's never really been my thing. My thing has never been like, I want to sell 200 houses and have a massive team. My thing has always been like, balance, being with my kids, having some fun, being able to come in whenever I want, take a vacation whenever I want. So for me, my goals in the last couple of years have really been more around autonomy. Although now that I have all that stuff settled and I'm kind of back in the saddle here now, we're kind of focused back on production, and we're on pace to have our best year ever and continue to try to grow that again.
So everyone that heard that right now is going to be so intrigued. Like, dude, I want to just do what he's doing. Like, that is the goal, right? Like freedom. Like, I just want to have freedom to do what I want. You did not get that overnight though, Brent. So do you feel like that grind that you did prior set you up for the referral network that you have now, for the systems that you know now, running your IG page, you just understanding like what I'm really good at and what maybe I'm not so good at, but I'll hire. Like, I think so many people that get in the business, they think real estate is like, I make these mega bucks and I make my own hours. And that is the biggest bullshit thing that I think you're going to lose. You're going to lose with that mentality, and you're going to burn out in 6 months to a year. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about, though, you had to earn where you're at right now, 100%, and you had to sacrifice things before. 100%. Where do you think there was like that? Like, I'm going up the mountain and like, now I'm kind of like coasting, and we're not ever coasting in real estate. But I guess what I'm trying to ask is where do you think there was like, maybe I went over that mountain and I'm like, whoa, I kind of see what's important in life now, but I earned that, mm-hmm. I don't have to worry about not feeding my 2 girls. I don't have to worry about not giving them a roof over their head. Can we talk about maybe before where you got to where you're at right now?
Yeah. So, there's two things I would say. So one, somebody told me very early on, they said, Brent, it's going to take 5 years for your phone to ring in. All the calls for the first 5 years go outbound. It's going to take 5 years. And what was interesting? It was like 5 years, almost to the day. It was eerie just how close it was where the calls started to come in. We're like at that year 6, year 7, all of a sudden, like people are calling like, hey, remember when I met you 3 years ago? Hey, I got your number from that person you worked with in the past, et cetera, et cetera. So that was one thing that was eerily true for me. Another thing that somebody said to me one time was, 50 deals, get to 50 deals as fast as you can. And then you'll start being able to kind of, like you said, coast a little bit, where the business will start to get easier after 50 deals. And the idea is, once you do 50 transactions, once you have 50 past clients, if people move every 7 years, so let's say 49, right? 49 transaction. If people move every 7 years, which I think it's closer to 10 years now. But when I was told this, the average time in a home was 7 years. So if you sell someone a home every 7 years, they're moving, right? So if you have 49 people The math just says that
Yeah.
7 of those people are moving this year. So that's
Interesting.
7. So that's going to be, and if you're doing good staying in your database, which should be like the main thing for most of us, if you're doing a good job staying in front of these people and staying in your database, that should be 7 transactions right there. And at the average commission price, the average sales price in San Diego, the idea is you get to 49 people, 7 of those will either be a sale or a referral every single year. And your business should be able to sustain roughly, if you're doing 7 transactions a year at the average price point here, the idea is that that's enough to make a decent income. So get 5 years or 50 transactions was the kind of 2 things that I focused on. And then it was, I thought those were fair rules of thumb. So that's kind of.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. Sometimes when you quantify something, it's just like, okay, once I just get to there, right? Like it's so easy to get so overwhelmed in our business. Like, do I need to focus on contracts? Do I need to focus on negotiating? It's like, no, you just got to go out there, build the relationships. Like you said, it takes 5 years, but I love that 49 to 50 number. That is a really interesting point, but it goes to your point, the longevity, right? If you're really trying to make this a career, you're not going to win every battle, but the goal is to win the war. And I think that you're kind of winning the war right now because you got 2 girls that love you. You're in a position that you have a great brokerage. You got a good team surrounding you. You got people that care about you. You got people that love you. But it doesn't really happen overnight. So it's really great you had that mindset, that career mindset going in. We're almost up on our time. I want to respect your time. If you were going to, let's say you're a brand new agent today, if your goal today was to sell a home, I need to sell a home today, I need to get a listing, I need to get a buyer client, what would you do today? Would it be expireds? Would it be going door knocking? Would it be open houses? In today's market, where do you think, and feel free if you don't want to share too much, I don't know if there's a hidden secret, there's really not, but what would you do today?
The hidden secret is hard work, man. The hidden secret is going out and get your ass kicked. That's the hidden secret. So, I'm going to say this for me, what I would do today. I think all of the things that you mentioned are valid. There's a million different ways to skin the cat. There's a million different ways to generate a lead.
It's overwhelming. Sometimes it's too much. I don't even know where to start, right?
it's way too much, dude. And I dare you. I tell you, new agents, oh yeah, you have all these things. I dare you to do one thing really well. Start with doing one thing really well. And ideally you'd have, at least 3 to 5 different lead gen pillars. And then the mega teams that really do it have 13, 14, 15, 20 different lead gen pillars. But now you're talking systems and peoples and processes. But if you're talking an agent starting out, or if you're a solo person, have 3 to 5 quality lead gen pillars. Try to do 1 or 2 or 3 of them really good before you get to number 5. So for me personally, so I think all of those, everything that you just described is a quality way to generate a lead. For my strength, and if I had to sell a home today, I would be doing open houses like crazy because the market has sort of shifted into the buyers having the power now, right? It's the listings are coming on and they're accumulating, and the buyers are way down, so there's much less competition. And so I think if you bring a buyer to the listing, the seller is going to be happy to see you, and it's a lot easier to negotiate than it was a few months ago. And so for me, the way that I always attracted buyers, in fact, that's what I did early on in my career. I just did constant open houses. And the reason why that worked for me is because I was always a bit of thin-skinned when it comes to expireds and cold calls and things like that. That was just never a strong suit of mine. But I could sell the pants off you in an open house, because once you meet me and once I got belly to belly with you, then it was on. And once you felt me and my energy as a human being rather than just a strange voice over the phone. And plus, when someone walked into an open house, to me, that was an invitation to talk to them about real estate, because I put a sign out that says open house, I am selling real estate. So when you walk in that door, you are indicating to me that you're interested in a conversation, which made me much more comfortable to talk to you. So for me, it was about doing open houses. And back when I was doing them constantly every single weekend, trying to get my business off the ground, you said something interesting a minute ago. You said quantifying. Quantifying this business, it's a numbers game. And what I knew back then is for every 8 open houses I did, I was closing 1 deal.
Wow. Yeah.
So for me, it was where in my schedule can I cram in 8 open houses? I don't give a shit if it's Tuesday morning. Most people are open house 1 to 4, Saturday, Sunday, because that's when everybody does them. Dude, I don't give a shit if you're doing an open house Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. I don't care. But I knew that when I was doing an open house, 8 of them was going to lead me to 1 sale back then. And so it was just like, all right, how do I cram 8 or more open houses? And it's funny because you would think like I would have open houses where 40, 50, 60 groups would come through and I wouldn't get 1 appointment. I would do an open house on a rainy ass day, 3 people come through, 2 appointments, 3 closed sales from it. So you never know where it's going to come from. My coach used to tell me activity breeds activity. So I don't care what you're doing to generate the lead. Do something because the deal is going to come from somewhere else. Like I used to do open house. And like I would get like a deal from a sign call from a listing. And the point is like, I think if you're putting out units of energy in any way, shape, or form, the universe is gonna return it to you. And I think 2 or 3-fold. So if you're out there prospecting and hustling, the universe is conspiring in our favor, right? So I know that if I'm out there hustling, that the deal is gonna come from somewhere, even if it's not the exact activity I'm doing in the exact moment. I also know that if I go out and give a unit of generosity. If I'm a generous person, if I'm a positive person, if I'm a hard worker, then the results and the positivity and all that's going to come. But if you're going out there like Eeyore, like, oh, no one's ever going to hire me and this sucks and clients are mean and the market is shitty. If you're like walking around like that, if you're waking up every day saying the market shifted, the market sucks, the market, the buyer, the rates, the recession, the inflation, like if you're going out and that's your mentality, the universe will return to you and will reflect to you whatever it is you're seeing. So another thing I think even bigger than the quantification of how we get real estate deals is the mindset. I think it all starts with the mindset. I mean, I could talk to you hours about like the stuff that I do for mindset that gets me in a position to wake up knowing I'm going to crush it today. I don't give a shit that rates are 6%. I don't give a shit that pendings are down 40%. I don't care that inflation is 10%. I don't care about any of this stuff because I know my mindset is I'm going to do deals. I'm going to do deals today because I'm the best option for the clients out there. So my job is to go save them from having to deal with an agent that's not as good as me. And that's my mindset. And there is a lot of wonderful agents out there. So I'm not trashing agents, but that's my mindset is like somebody who hires me, that's going to be the best decision they've made in their entire life, above their marriage, above their children. Hiring me is the best thing you've ever done. And that's my mindset.
Dude, thanks for sharing that. You were being facetious there, but you had so many just true things to say. And it's not narcissistic. It's not egotistical. You really believe everything that you've learned from the past from people that are smarter than you. You really share that knowledge and you're like an open book. Every client that we've worked together, it makes my job as a lender so easy because they just love Brent. They just trust and respect Brent. So anyone that's a part of his team, they're just innately going to trust. and it's true, man. Like you got to be around good, positive people. I always believe the market is in your head, right? It's always in your head. It's not what's going on outside. There's always going to be people looking to buy. There's always going to be people looking to sell their home. Everyone's situation is so unique, but you're so right, man. There's so many bad agents, bad lenders that just are, I don't want to do this. This is hard. Like, dude, you got to show up every day. You got to work. And we're doing it for not only ourselves, but for the people that we love and support and our clients also, because it's important, like now more than ever, to have a good real estate agent that's going to get you to the finish line, that knows the market, that understands it. And I get it. So many people today are like, well, you're supposed to tell me now is a great time to buy. Like you don't get paid. And it's like, dude, no offense. Like I don't need, I'm in a great position. Like I don't need to get your money. Like I don't need to. I'm in this position to help educate, to work with good people like Brent. So there are really good agents out there. There are really bad agents out there. And Brent, you have so much energy, bro. Like I feel like I can do 45 push-ups in like 20 seconds right now. I'm just so juiced up. So I really do appreciate that. I want to finish off with this. If there was one book, and you're a reader, you're a podcaster, if there was one book that you can go back on, what was the one book that stood out to you that really helped you to get to where your mindset's at today?
I mean, I think the one that kicked it off for me, and this is going to be kind of cliche, but the one that kicked it off for me, honestly, was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And it's all about exactly what we're talking about. We become what we think about. And, that book was a catalyst for me. And I'm a huge reader, and we could talk about, we could have a whole podcast on just books about business and mindset and family and just how to be better men and better people. But that was kind of the one that kicked it off, where we become what we think about. And, you know, it's funny. I've been journaling for the last 6 or 7 years, and one of these things is like we become what we think about. So if we write down positive affirmations, and I remember I was writing down positive affirmations, and we write them in the present. I am, right? So if you want to earn a certain amount of money, and back then I remember I was in like about 2014, I was writing, I am earning $20,000 a month. I'm earning $20,000 a month. And I was doing that over and over and over again. And I wasn't earning that much back then, or maybe it's 25,000. It was some number, right? And it felt like a reach for me at that time. Well, I was moving last year, and I found a stack of journals, and I just open them up every once in a while and like to look through them. And I found a bunch of affirmations that I written down from 2014. Wow. And I'm thinking to myself, I was like, man, if this was the production I was doing today, I'd be really depressed. Like business would be down if this is the kind of production I was doing.
That was in 2014, the entries, journal entries. Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, this business, and to succeed about it, it's about mindset. It's about systems. It's about processes. It's about the sales skills. It's about the marketing. And if there's anybody watching this that has any interest in what those things are, I am open. I will show you my entire playbook. I will show you my entire playbook about how I go about marketing, the how, the what, the where, the why, the books I read. Like I am an open book. And when I sit with new agents that aren't on my team or in my office, and I give them this information, you know, they always look at me sideways and go, Brent, why would you give me all this information if I'm gonna be your competitor? Because it's not about any of that information. 99% of you won't do the work. I can give you the playbook. Just like a trainer can tell you, okay, you got to lift these weights and run this distance if you want to be in this kind of shape. 99% of the people won't do the work. And for those of you that do the work, there's enough to go around for everybody. So this is not a zero-sum game where it's like, oh my God, if you get a deal, that means it's one more for you is one less for me. I don't think about it like that. And
that's a mindset of abundance for scarcity, thinking we're rich, right? I mean, totally what you're saying.
And the only reason I know this stuff and do the production that I do is because other people gave this stuff to me. I didn't invent this. I am a product of so many people that are smarter than me, better at this than me, more productive than me. And so I feel grateful for those who came before me and blessed me with all this information. And I've managed to stumble my way to a mild amount of success. So if I can give someone else a golden nugget or the playbook or the wisdom that makes them take it and run with it, and they go carve out an insane career with a bunch of freedoms and the ability to be with their family and making a ton of money. And if it doesn't, you know, that's what somebody did for me. So anybody out there that's watching, if you want more about how and why we do what we do, I'm an open book and I'm happy to share.
Yeah, thanks for that. We'll share the contact info when we post this again. Hey, Brent, super appreciate your time. Is there any just final thoughts? We're halfway through the year. Any final thoughts as we finish out 2022?
Any final thoughts, man? I think for me, it's about staying present. It's not about what has happened in the last 6 months or the last 2 years or the last 10 years. And it's not about what's going to happen in the next 10 days, 10 weeks, 10 months, 10 years. It's about what am I doing right now? When we shut off this call, what am I doing? What is one activity that I can do to move myself forward as a human being, as a man, as a father, in my business? And then just do that one thing, because I can't change yesterday and I can't worry about tomorrow. So my thought, with all the volatility going on and all the chaos, and not just in the marketplace, but geopolitical tension and all of this, political unrest and all this upheaval and, mass shootings, there's just so much negativity and so much going on our hearts and minds as a collective right now, that I think focusing on the present moment, what can I do to move one step forward in this present moment today, not worried about tomorrow, not worried about yesterday. And that's kind of how I think about it. I'm not worried about the deal I closed yesterday. I'm not worried about the one that might come tomorrow. I'm worried about, when I'm done with this call, what do I need to do? What can I do right now to be a better man, to be a positive impact on myself and those around me?
Thank you for all the insight today. Brent Edwards with Brent the Broker. Dude, super appreciate your time, your mindset, your energy. Super appreciate you as a person. Thank you so much for your time, man. This was great today.
Dude, I appreciate the kind words, and thanks for having me on. And yeah, man, if there's any of your audience that we can help, feel free to hit me up, because like I said, someone did it for us, and I'm all about paying it forward. So let me know how we can help.
Thanks, guys.